Welcome to Cheat Code Nutrition, the podcast where science meets strategy to help you decode your body and unlock next level health. I'm your host, Elly Young, functional nutrition practitioner and genetic testing nerd, here to guide you through the real root causes of fatigue, stubborn weight, hormonal chaos, and mystery symptoms the traditional system shrugs off. Whether you're optimizing for longevity, performance, or just want to feel like yourself again, you're in the right place. Around here, we don't guess, we test. We use functional lab work, genetic nutrition, and a no BS approach to precision wellness that works with your body, not against it. If you're ready to ditch the one size fits all protocols and start working with your actual blueprint, this is your cheat code. Let's get into it. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Find Myself Free. I'm Elly Young, and this is the podcast where we go deep on women's health, hormones, and functional nutrition. Today, I'm going to be sharing why genetic testing might just be the most powerful first step you can take, even before labs, protocols, supplements, or some sort of detox challenge. If you've ever felt like you're doing all the things but not getting the results, body composition, energy, migraines, hormonal swings, I might be speaking from experience here, you are in the right place. So I just want to kind of back up and tell you a little bit of my story to kind of get you to understand like why I have followed this path so aggressively. It's really just I've been pursuing my health for a really long time. I grew up an athlete. I was a hardcore soccer player, a hardcore tennis player. I played Division I college soccer. And even as an adult, I remained really committed to fitness, clean eating, keto, low carb, fasting, cold plunging. I got obsessed with Soul Cycle, sauna. I dove deep into cycle syncing and biohacking. But here's the truth. I was healthy by all like external measures, but my body never really showed it. I was fit, but never lean. Despite extreme protocols, I have been gaining weight with age. I have hit energy lows and felt off. And I'm always like walking this fine line between like I'm powerful, but I'm still puffy, and I'm fit, but I'm often like foggy in my brain. So quitting alcohol was a huge reset for me and something I highly recommend. And cycle syncing was another thing I got into, and fasting like a girl was a big thing that helped me balance my hormones temporarily, I would say, because I definitely hit a wall. Fasting and cold plunging stopped working for me. My energy dropped, weight climbed back on, and I was bloated and puffy. So then came the diagnosis of Hashimoto's after I kind of went down the rabbit hole there. Again, this is an autoimmune thyroid condition. So my routine labs were, of course, normal, which is, you hear this story all the time. Labs are normal, but you still feel off. So I went to a naturopath, and my experience there was frankly underwhelming. I paid a lot of money. I did a lot of testing, and it still felt like I got zero education or coaching. And being that I'm a coach, I think this was my biggest bone to pick with it, is that it still felt like traditional medicine where I was just getting like a diagnosis and a prescription with little education on the root cause, which is what naturopaths are supposed to be more kind of aligned with, is like, hey, why is this happening? And how about some coaching around like different lifestyle measures? I mean, she definitely just was like, go gluten free, do an elimination diet, but it was like, i- there's no coaching on how to actually implement these things, right? And so it still felt like a lot of guesswork. It still felt like, um, the thing with labs is that you have to do them every 4 months, and to see if something's working. So to find out if I was improving my Hashimoto's or my thyroid, to wait 4 months to know if the protocols you're doing are actually working, that's a really long time to be trying something. And if it didn't work, and then to go back and be like, well, I guess I got to try again. 4 months, that's a really long time. That's a quarter of a year. So I was not a fan, and I know a lot of people are like this. The amount of frustration that's out there around this type of experience is just at an all-time high, right? Because we just don't know how to treat, and there's so much health information. I mean, I've been that person. I'm recommending all different types of protocols and supplements and diet strategies and cycle syncing, all these things. Um and a lot of it we're just shooting in the dark, right? We really don't know without testing what's really going on with our body. I mean, we can track our symptoms, and that's really a good indicator, but there's so much going on that we don't know. So that's when I dove deep and nerded out again. I enrolled in the Integrative and Functional Nutrition Academy, and I actually just finished my training. It was so exciting. This has been the best and most clinically grounded education I've ever received. So I'm now prepping for my boards. I'm undergoing a bunch of mentoring hours, which is really cool. I get to work with these really experienced professionals and who have different niches. So right now I'm in the nutrigenomics one, which I'm obsessed with, and I think it's what I'm going to specialize in because, I mean, that's what this podcast is about. um, it really has started to shape a new core belief that if we're going to heal, we must go upstream. And the most upstream you can go with your health is your genes. Um, so let me break down the kind of the gap in traditional versus functional medicine because I really believe functional medicine is the future. Um, so traditional medicine, it takes your symptoms, it runs standard labs, and it treats with a band-aid like antidepressants, statins, hormonal birth control. It's direct, yes, but it often doesn't find the cause. It just kind of slaps a band-aid on it. And while that might help with some of your symptoms, it does nothing to treat the root cause. So, functional medicine, it's all about investigating root causes, digging into gut health, your hormone dynamics, environmental factors, and my favorite, your genetics. But even with the functional world, testing can be overwhelming. Through my training, I've actually done every test possible because I was just really wanted to get familiar with these labs and understand my own health. But panels and labs galore. Dollars can be wasted, stress can be increased, you can be drowning in data. And the key here, though, is that there's a better way to start, smarter, cheaper, more precise. So, this podcast is really about why genetic testing should be your first and best step in your health journey. So, your genes are your baseline blueprint. They don't change. Unlike your hormones, your sleep habits, your stress, your mood, your diet, they do not change. You have these genes for life. But how they express can shift. Now, this is called epigenetics. How your lifestyle and all the factors, all the inputs you're eating, the toxins you're exposed to, your lifestyle, your upbringing, all these things, your stress can impact the way the gene expresses, right? So here's why starting with genetic testing is so powerful. Number one, it's fixed information. You only need to test once, and you can take this data and run with it. You can go get nutritional counseling from someone like me. You can take it to your doctor. You can take it to any different provider who's familiar with this. And and they're only going to improve upon the science. So right now, they've studied only a fraction of the different gene variants that they call them SNPs that you could possibly have and how they impact your health. Some are very popular, like the MTHFR gene. You've probably heard a lot about that one. They've studied that one a lot and they have a lot of good information. But what's cool about these tests, and they run anywhere from like $300 to like $500, just to actually, these are direct to consumer testing that you can do on your own, is you get this information and then you have it. And so the science is going to continue to improve. The studies are going to continue to improve, and you will already know your genes, so you can just go from there as they learn more. Um, it's also diagnostic insight. So there is no guessing and there is no random protocols. That's why you see people respond so differently to different diets, to different medicines, to different treatments, all these things. It's like, well, why did it work for that person but not for me? It's your genes. And these genes, again, are being impacted by your environment, but we can also use that to go the other direction. We can impact, um, I actually just said that. We can impact your genes, whether they're turned off or on, whether they're upregulated or downregulated by tweaking your diet and your environment. Number three, it sets you up for precision. So sudden shifts only require little lifestyle tweaks, not full overhauls. We can literally adjust a couple little supplements and see this little bottleneck that could be happening in a detox pathway improve. Number four, it's cost effective because you spend once for this lab for lifelong clarity, not thousands on ongoing labs, which is what I have been doing for my Hashimoto's. I've spent a ton of money. And not only do you have to spend the money on the lab, you also have to get the doctor to order the lab, and then you also have to pay the doctor to review the lab. And right now, my naturopath for those types of appointments, it's $265 out of pocket, which I'm also, using my HSA dollars, but I've spent it all. I've spent all my HSA dollars for the year. I know we've got about half the year left, but I ran out because I have done so much testing this year. So this is better. If you can combine your genetic blueprint with a symptom questionnaire. So let's take a history of all the symptoms you're experiencing, take a look at your diet, and then we combine that with what your genes are doing, and you instantly narrow your next steps. No shotgun approach. This is targeted strategic testing. So I'm going to give you an example of how this actually kind of worked for me. So I'm particularly focused on detox. So understanding detox as the system that helps your body process hormones. So as a woman in her 40s, this is a key focus of mine. And also coming off, alcohol use for the number of years that I did. Again, I'm really interested in detox. Um, so think of your detox system kind of like a conveyor belt, right? So we have phase one, uh, part of the detox system, in phase two. These both take place in the liver, and then phase three takes place in your gut, right? So there's different enzymes that are necessary for the different steps along this little conveyor belt, right? And different genes impact the functionality of those enzymes in different phases, right? So phase one enzymes is where things start breaking things down, like estrogen. And this, a gene that's impacting this is called the CYP1B1 gene. I'll come back to that. Phase two enzymes finish the job of detoxing. They are now converting things. And this is affected by the genes COMT, COMT, GSTs, and the MTHFR gene, as well as a lot of glutathione here. And then finally, um, phase three in the gut, these excretion systems move out the waste. So, a lot of times when we are taking different supplements without understanding our genetic makeup, it's like we are speeding up phase one, like of the conveyor belt, but without slowing down phase two. So imagine we have like a worker on phase two, that gene, and that gene might have slow activity, right? So if we are taking a supplement that we've heard is really good for hormone balance in phase one, and we're speeding up, it's like we're creating um we're we're making this conveyor belt run really, really fast into a slower worker. And all of a sudden it gets backed up and things start falling off the conveyor belt, and it's a mess, right? So it's like turning on a blender without slowing down phase two or boosting your excretion. It creates like a bottleneck, backing everything up. This can cause migraines, hormonal acne, mood swings, energy crashes. I was experiencing all of this. Um, and that's why I almost triggered more migraines with DIM. So DIM is a supplement that helps to push and kind of speed up phase one detox of estrogen, right? So I was increasing. So, oh, good, this is going to help me process estrogen faster and move it out of my system, but it was speeding it up into phase 2 detox for me, which was slowed down. I actually had the gene CYP1B1. I had a higher enzyme activity there, so I was already had phase 1, like, fast-paced detox level, and then I was adding this dim to it that was really increasing it. So it was like fire hose pace, right? Down to my phase 2 uh, process, which was affected by a slow gene there. So I was actually experiencing this and I had no idea. I was like, oh my gosh, I thought I knew everything there was to know about hormone balance and the best supplements and all these things to take. And yet here I was creating a bottleneck in my system that was basically ramping up the detox of my estrogen and then having it sit because my phase 2 detox was slowing down based on my genes. So now what I'm doing is I'm actually treating phase 2 detox with very specific supplementation that is going to help upregulate the genes in that area. And I'm going to try and slow down the phase 1. So I'm not like turning on a fire hose to a tiny little drain. That's kind of how it is, right? It's like I want to have a normal hose pace and I want to try and open up my drain so that it flows a little bit faster. Those are my best kind of analogies for this. Um, so let's walk through some real life genes that matter. Okay, so we were talking a little bit about this CYP1B1. This is Mine had high activity, which means more estrogen was going down the inflammatory estrogen pathways. Um, I'm also the gene variant I had here was called a CC. That means I'm highly active. So my pro tip here is if you know your genes, and you know you have this CC variant of this one, do not speed up phase 1 detox. These are supplements called DIM or strong biohacking protocols. This is why cold plunging was not working for me because cold plunging raises your estrogen. I mean, not your estrogen, it spikes your cortisol. And so this can actually also impact, like, again, it's cortisol is a hormone as well. It also needs to be detoxed by your system. So my body was reacting more strongly to the stress and I wasn't able to detox it out of my system. So these metabolites were basically building up and driving inflammation in my system. I know this is a lot of science geek stuff here, but bear with me because once you know your genes and I can help walk you through these different pathways in your body and show you where you might be vulnerable and where you might need more support, it's like a game changer. It's like we are no longer guessing. We are able to really precisely help you treat these things. So COMT gene, that's the other one. Mine had slow activity. So I had slow clearance of estrogen, dopamine, and stress hormones. That's that cortisol. That's why cold plunging wasn't working for me. But hopefully with these new protocols, I can get back into cold plunging. So I had symptoms of anxiety. I was wired by tired. I had a couple periods that were really heavy. So how did I start to treat this now? Magnesium, B vitamins B6, protein, and ashwagandha to help manage my stress. And what I'm avoiding is high dose methylated B vitamins. That is something a lot of people take because with all the fuss around MTHFR gene and saying, oh, majority of the population has this variant, which means you need to take methylated folate and you need to take these high dose B vitamins. That can feel like an overload to someone's system who actually doesn't have that variant and who might have other genes that are impacting the way you are metabolizing that stuff, the way you are, if you're able to methylate or not. So it can feel like a caffeine overload. It can make you feel really, really jittery. So this is super interesting stuff. So um, another gene was really super interesting. It's called the GST M1 and the GSTT1. So I have a reduced expression of this gene, but a functional part of this gene as well. So there's two different ones here. And basically, this impacts my conversion with glutathione. Again, it's impacting phase 2 level of detox here. So how am I going to support this now? I'm going to actually take glutathione. You can take NAC. I'm going to be eating more sulfur-rich foods, antioxidants, and lifestyle supports like sweating and making sure the products I use are really clean products. MTHFR. So everybody loves to think about this gene. They want to blame a lot of things on this gene, like, oh, I'm a bad methylator and stuff. So MTHFR impacts methylation pathways. It impacts your vitamin usage. It impacts detox and even neurotransmitters. If your methylation is blocked, but again, only 40 to 50% in my latest study of this. I used to think that was 70% of people had this. It's actually only about half the population can have a variant here. But again, you can have a variant here, but have your body compensate in other ways. You can have other genes that are going to help you. So again, not everybody who has this variant needs to take these heavy dose supplements of 5-MTHF or high doses of B vitamins. Okay. So my protocol pivot, I am stopping using DIM. It was too aggressive for my CYP1B1 and COMT gene variants. And instead, I pivoted to sulforaphane, which is basically broccoli sprouts, to support phase 2 of my detox. I'm also taking something called calcium D glucarate, which is going to help support my gut estrogen elimination, which is actually phase 3 detox. I'm continuing with my magnesium and B6 to support my COMT gene and my stress metabolism. And this is something I didn't talk about also, but it's something that comes up a lot for people is histamine. So I've done a lot of research into migraines, and I thought it might be a problem with histamine. Well, turns out I have a gene, DAO, that is impaired. And so I have impaired histamine activity. So this combined with my estrogen, my problem with detoxing estrogen is creating this like basically a perfect storm for a migraine, particularly around ovulation time and luteal phase, which is right when I get my migraines. So the result of me being able to fine tune this approach, far fewer migraines, more balanced weeks, and sustainable energy without extremes. Okay. So you guys are basically benefiting from my last 8 months of digging deep into this science, and I'm really wrapping up and going, okay, here is where I should have started. Okay? Stop layering protocols that you found online. They might be counterproductive. Genetic testing is your navigation tool. You dialed once and you can use it always. Always support the whole pathway, not just the flashy phase 1 level of detox, which is what a lot of the most popular supplements are attacking is like, hey, let's help you ramp up detox. But again, if you are struggling in the phase 2 detox part of your system, which can be affected by a number of different genes, you could be just creating this bottleneck and exposing yourself to more of the toxic elements. Because what phase 1 detox does is, for example, with alcohol, it takes alcohol out of that form and uh, converts it to acetaldehyde, which is a much, much more toxic. It's the thing that causes the cancer. It's the thing that it exposes your organs to this bad, bad, bad stuff. And basically, you don't want it to sit in that form for long. You want phase 2 to kick in and convert it so it doesn't stay in that super toxic form very long, right? But if you are speeding up the ramping of that detox phase 1, and then you have a slow phase 2, you're exposing yourself longer to that toxin. So that is why this is so important. Um, so your next steps. All right. So I'm obviously very excited about this because I just really got my head around what I want to be offering you guys so that you can benefit from this type of information yourself. And it's super accessible, okay? The genetic testing is a test you can do on your own. They have amazing analyses and reviews, but again, it's only a sliver. They're only going to give you one small perspective of what these genes mean. They're not going to give you the full huge picture, and they're not going to connect the dots like I just did where I walk you through all these different things, okay? That is why you want to seek out a professional to actually go in and look at your symptoms, look at your history, your diet, all these things, and then apply it through the lens of what your genetics are doing. So I created a free download for you, another freebie. I love making freebies. This one is called, I might change the name, but this is what it is right now, the 5 most impactful genes to optimize your health. You can find it in the show notes, or you can DM me genes on Instagram. And you can also book a free genetic nutrition counseling call. I want to help you design your personalized blueprint, not just diagnose, okay? So stay tuned for more on this. Thanks for hanging out and investing in the smarter way to heal. If this resonated, hit subscribe. Please leave me a 5-star review and share this with a woman in your life who is ready to upgrade her toolkit. So until next time, be curious, get rooted, and let your body guide the way. As always, I am with you. You got this. Thanks for tuning in to Cheat Code Nutrition. If today's episode sparked some curiosity about what your genes are trying to tell you, grab my free guide, 5 Genes You Should Know to Optimize Your Health. It's linked for you in the show notes. And if you're ready to skip the guesswork and start working with your actual blueprint, check out my genetic nutrition coaching offer, also linked in the show notes. Your next level of health might just be one test away. Until next time, stay curious, stay nourished, and don't forget, your body's not broken. It just speaks a different language. Let's learn to speak it fluently.